Hey, and welcome to the second season of Beyond Rhetoric podcast. In today's episode, we're going to sit down with the founder and current president of Beyond Rhetoric, Dr. Troy Grant. We're going to go over how things have been over the last 3 years. Yes, I'm saying 3 years. In the episode, I say 2. I had a miscalculation. The last time we had a podcast that was released was in July 2021. We do this in MDASTI Studios. Let me make sure I have that correct. Their logo will be at the end of this episode. So it's a different location for us. Normally we're doing just all audio, but now we're actually doing some things on video and pushing those things out to other social media platforms. With that being said, we also want to make sure that you understand that we have a couple of fundraising things going on. One is our hoodie campaign. There should be a link below for you to be able to go to. We love for you to come out and purchase one of the hoodies and support our organization. The other thing that we have going on is at Bus Boys and Poets in Columbia, Maryland on December the 3rd at 6:30 p.m. We're going to be hosting an auction. This will be our second one. There'll be some cool things there for you to come and see and hopefully buy. But with all that being said, let's go Beyond the Rhetoric. Well, thank you for joining us and chiming into Beyond Rhetoric on whatever platform you are watching this or listening to this as a podcast. So what we have here today is we have Dr. Troy Grant, who is the president of Beyond Rhetoric here that we're sitting down with and talking about the past 2 years, because it's been like since 2022 when we last did our last episode together.
Really?
Yeah.
Early 2022?
I can't remember. I just know it was 22. Okay. I have to look at the show notes. But matter of fact, it was going into the summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was going into the summer. We was just wrapping up, and we were talking about book club and a number of things and what folks were going to do their last time here. I think it was Tia and Nancy and Marcellus all in a room. We kind of had the cell phone sitting in the middle of the room. So we've upgraded now. We are beyond just using a cell phone.
Yes, indeed.
We are now in the studio, which is awesome. So, hey man, welcome to the show, brother.
And gracias, señor.
Yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed. So I want to talk about where we last left off and basically get into what's been happening in this 2-year gap.
Yeah.
So for Beyond Rhetoric, right? So could you share about some of the programs and things that went on over these past 2 years? Just get us all caught up.
Yeah. So I think when we started, we just had a limited amount, right? We had like the chess and the coding. But then since then, we've kind of ramped up, right? We've had we had a friendship bracelets program, but I'll talk about our partnership with HCC, which is also something new since that time. But we have a partnership with HCC, Howard Community College, here in the state of Maryland. And with that partnership, students in the criminal justice program that are taking classes in criminal justice, they're able to get credit hours as long as they serve with Beyond Rhetoric. And one of the goals is that they have to go into the facility and spend time with the youth every week for the semester. And as a result of that, we give them the experience and they get the credit through the Howard Community College and the criminal justice program. So that's one of the things. But one of the things that we asked them to do was to bring something. Like, don't just show up, right? That's not what we do here at Beyond Rhetoric. It's not just about you showing up because for the most part, youth don't want to listen to a bunch of adults, right? They don't want to hang with you. They just don't. So what it is, the connection is you're bringing something. And so one crew brought volleyball. Another young lady, she was part of the volleyball team. And another crew brought, she just tagged along with me with chess and a couple of programs. And then another couple people tagged along with me with chess in a different program. From that, we had a young lady that said, hey, I want to come back. One of the volleyball students, or I would say volunteers, came back and she started a friendship bracelet program. And that just means that she went out every Sunday and spent time with the youth in detention doing friendship bracelets. We had another guy who became an intern, same deal, Howard Community College. And what he did is he brought games, board games. And so that was a bunch of fun. So volleyball and board games and chess, etc. With that. In addition, we had a guy who did a cash flow game. It's a financial literacy piece. And the guy that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah,
he came out with a board game called Cash Flow, because he even approached us. He said, I want to teach investment strategy. I want to teach because, our people need to learn blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And what we do here at Beyond Rhetoric is we say, okay, that's great, but kids don't want you to sit and teach them. I'm sorry, not this population. My kids don't want me to sit and teach them, so why would it be any different for youth in detention? And so what we say is, how can you communicate that in a way that's not didactic, a way that's not you instructing, right? And so he thought about it a little bit and he said, you know what? There's a board game out there. I was like, really? It's called Cash Flow. It teaches investment strategies. It teaches how to get to a certain point. And so that was a lot of fun as well. We also had a yoga program. And yoga, a young lady from Baltimore who's highly certified, she went out to Hagerstown, the all-girls facility. The challenge with that program was that it was so far away, probably about an hour and a half away that she had to travel. And so that, it's really challenging on a volunteer. They've moved the detention centers. One of the other things that's happened within the last couple of years is they moved the detention center. When we first started, they were in Laurel, Maryland, which is close to Howard County where this nonprofit is based. So it was in Laurel, Maryland, the all-girls facility. Then they moved it to Montgomery County. Then they had a fire at the Montgomery County. That was the Alfred D. Noyes facility. In Laurel was the Waxter facility. And so then they had a fire there. And then they transfer all the girls to Cheltenham, which is in Prince George's County. Mm-hmm. Okay. So from Prince George's County, then they said, well, because they're at Cheltenham, which is typically an all males facility, but they were taking a few of the units. What we'll do is we're now going to move them out to Hagerstown, which is really far. I believe it's in Washington County in the state of Maryland, which is way further west. And so it was just difficult for people to get out there. But one of the other programs that we have now, speaking of Hagerstown, speaking of the that Western Maryland Children's Center, all girls facility, we have two young ladies who are empty nesters who are in one of the counties in Maryland. Maryland has 23 counties, and one of the counties is Howard County. Well, two empty nesters from Howard County are now going out to be with the youth to play pickleball.
Hey, you play?
Yeah, I do not play. I played now. Now I've played with the girls when I was there. On that inaugural, game day. Yeah. And they went out there, and I went and checked it out. It was just awesome, and just getting the youth involved. So I played. I'm not that skilled, but it's a lot of fun. And so they do that, and they're very consistent. And so that's been something new that we've done. If we ended in 2022, a couple other new things. One was we had an auction, our first auction, and that first auction was really cool. We're going to have another one on December 3rd. And so that's something that, hopefully we'll get to talk about a little bit at the end.
Yeah. I want to add something to that. So my mother's been coming to visit us more. She's helping take my son to school a little bit. And she was looking at my wall and she was like, "Did you take those pictures?" And I was like, "No, I bought them at an auction."
Oh, wow.
And that's the one. Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, man, is these pictures of Maryland?" I said, "Yeah, these are certain areas of Maryland that these are in." Yeah. Absolutely beautiful stuff that was there.
Yeah, and that was a local artist who said, "I will donate these items to Beyond Rhetoric, and you can auction them off." And that was what we did, and that helped tremendously. And so thanks for that contribution, because that's what the auction is. We're trying to contribute. So that was successful. And we're going to have our next successful one in December on Giving Tuesday, December 3rd at Busboys and Poets in Howard County. But in addition to that, we also had a young man come from New York, Jeffrey Owens, who he was Elvin on The Cosby Show, right?
Yep.
He came here to Maryland for one specific purpose, and that was to donate his time and his art to Beyond Rhetoric. And so as a result, he came here and he did 90 minutes worth of Shakespeare. And he did Shakespeare monologues and soliloquies. And it was just really amazing. Then we had some kids from the Baltimore School of the Arts, based in Baltimore. And we had it at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum of Maryland African American History and Culture. So that's in the city of Baltimore. And so we were able to get kids from Baltimore School of the Arts to serve and get some credit as service learning hours, and to spend some time with this, accomplished actor. And so people that donated, they were able to, that's how we, served. And that's how Jeffrey was able to give to us. And that's how we were able to benefit from his service. And we're looking forward to more people doing things like that, saying, hey, here's my talent. I want to give to Beyond Rhetoric, which is something that we're really encouraged by.
Yeah, Jeffrey was fantastic. And he put on a great show. Funny guy behind the scenes as well.
100%.
Yeah. And I love the fact that he was able to change into so many different characters, but also incorporated some youth that was in there helping out. And so it was an all-around situation. Right. So really good thing. Yeah. So over the last 2 years, though, what I have noticed, and if you are on here watching this, you can tell that we've transitioned to some things on video to go to social media. So you actually opened up more of an account dealing with Instagram, YouTube, all these other places. Can you tell us more about that, where these other platforms are at that you're actually pushing Beyond Rhetoric to get the word out?
Sure. We'll put you in quotations, right? Because it's definitely not me, because I am like really bad at this kind of thing. So we had some interns for a while, and those interns from different colleges, local colleges, and one person who wasn't from a college directly attached to a college, but he saw our advertisement on Indeed.com. And so those interns were, they were younger, much younger than us. So they were like, hey, you should do this on Instagram. And we should, let's make this, video on Instagram, or on TikTok. I was like, okay, let's just do it. And so I'll just do whatever you tell me to do, but that's not my area of strength. Definitely not. But they were pushing that. So here's the deal. Anybody out there, if you're noticing more traffic with Instagram and with Twitter and or now X, and with YouTube, or with, anything, Facebook, it's because of the help that we're getting from other people. That is not something that I personally can do. It's really other folks saying, hey, this is how I can give to this organization. And so that's been really helpful. Yeah.
No doubt. So the organization has had some turnover over the last 2 years. Had some folks that was originally on the board had stepped away, and some new folks that come in. Yeah. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we had only one person that really stepped away, and that person was Nancy. She was a founding treasurer and a founding board member. And she had a child. She had a baby. And so she said, I really need to focus my time, which is really great.
Yeah. Congratulations, Nancy.
Yes, absolutely.
Congratulations. 100%.
Yeah. And so she stepped away. In the interim, we did have someone who stepped into that position temporarily, but is no longer here. I tell you, the business of being part of running a nonprofit it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of coordination. It's a lot of collaboration. It's not a lot of meetings. But we meet, probably the most we've met is once a month, but it's typically kind of quarterly, depending on where we are. And so giving all of those dynamics, the person was here for a short time. And so now we're looking for a treasurer, right? And we're looking for other board members to fill that spot. We also have a new executive director. And so that was part of the push to expand Beyond Rhetoric. And so that beyond that executive director, the goal is to really build a capacity of the organization. Right. Because for 4 years, we operated as a all volunteer organization. And we take pride in that. We were excited about telling people we're all volunteer and we're not here to get your money. We're not here to do that. But that also has some limitations. And the limitations that has kind of are at a point where we're like, you know what? In order for us to grow and expand and to push this idea beyond this county and this state and to push this idea deeper, we are going to have to start, I don't want to say professionalizing, because all of us are professionals that are on the board, but we're going to have to start reaching and building the capacity to the point where we may just have to start paying people to do the things that volunteers can't do. Mm-hmm. Because all the volunteers are full-time workers. We work full-time, and then we just give our time to Beyond Rhetoric when we can. Well, in order to grow the organization, it can't exist at that model, because there are certain things that need to be done. We can't keep telling people no because we don't have the capacity. So we need to grow the capacity of the organization. And that was the reason to reach out to the executive director. The best part about that also, though, is the executive director's position was advertised as a fund your own position. So that executive director has to raise money in order to fund his position, in order to fund it in a way that really is commensurate with our goals and our beliefs. Mm-hmm. And so he's been at it.
Good deal. Yep. So much so that me and you are here on a Saturday afternoon mm-hmm. in the studio. Mm-hmm. You have your son off in the corner that we can't really see. Yeah. And that just shows the heart of us taking out the time, volunteering.
100%.
Because we couldn't do this on a Tuesday afternoon. You got to work. I got to work. Yeah. I'm in between traveling to all these different places.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you're raising a family.
As well. Yeah, mm-hmm. exactly. And so all those things take up time that we just don't have to be able to devote directly just to this whole cause. So it's another reason to have that position there and expand the other positions that's coming through. Yeah. So good deal. So one of the other things I wanted to ask you was this year, just looking at this year with the organization, what do you feel is necessary to go beyond rhetoric this year with the organization?
Yeah, so what's interesting is it's a couple things. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've done very deliberately is I've stepped back from a lot of the I don't want to say the work, but the day-to-day things that I can be doing. Because one of the things, in order for this organization, we have to get off the board, or we have to do a shift July 2025. In the bylaws that we wrote when we formed the organization, we wrote that we can't be in the same positions in 5 years. Just can't. So that kind of spurred, okay, now it's 2024. We have 18 months in order to get off the board. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? What does that look like? And so the imperative then was we have to both duplicate ourselves, and we also have to get this organization to a point where it can grow beyond us. So one of the things I've had to do deliberately is not do as much, but start expecting and demanding others to do. Mm-hmm. Because you know how it is. Whenever you're volunteering, people look at you and they go, okay, cool, let's just keep doing it, bro. Right? And they're excited about the fact that you're giving something. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily inspire others to do the work also. It doesn't.
Very true.
So there's not a causal relationship between you giving and others giving, right? You want it to be. You want to think that, if I run this marathon, folks will just start running behind me and then we'll finish the marathon. No. That's not how it works. And that was a very challenging lesson for me to learn the first few years. And so this last year, I've been doing that. So I've been expecting the executive director to lead the meetings. And so he and I may confer, outside. He and I may talk, but the expectation is that he leads the board meetings. I've been expecting that us as a board that we start thinking about how we can duplicate ourselves. Because my goal is to duplicate myself by the end of the year, or by July 2025. And so hopefully that's what the board does as well. We duplicate ourselves. And so when we leave, we won't leave a gap. So that's the goal. The goal is to transition so that we can leave a strong organization with something like I want to actually find someone who's as passionate as me or who's as knowledgeable. Maybe they have more knowledge than I have in terms of the criminal justice system and or juvenile justice. And so that's the goal, like finding those folks. And if I can find those folks, that'll be great. So that's where the organization needs to go. We need to duplicate ourselves, replicate, ourselves, and also just grow the capacity so that that I feel comfortable that if I'm not there doing stuff, the Beyond Rhetoric idea, the concept will still get going. One example of scaling back, for the last few years, I've been going out to the farmers market every Saturday. And, from May through November, there's a farmers market in Clarksville. So I go out there and I'm there for 5 hours.
Yep.
And we're letting people know what's going on. And we're selling our shirts or T-shirts or our hoodies or whatever we're selling. And just really informational. Well, this year it's like, do I really need to be out there every week? I have, a son that I have to attend to.
Right.
So how about on every other week, I really just focus on spending time with him, whereas the off weeks, I'm going to the farmer's market.
Right.
And there's a part of me that feels like, well, if I'm not there, things won't happen. But I think that's, it's a healthy thought. But I think it's also the place where any organization needs to be, where the person that's considered a leader has to realize that you've got to step away at a certain point. And if it's not healthy after you step away, then that's an indication of the leadership. And so I've been doing less in terms of that with the hopes of going a little deeper, doing more background stuff. And so that's the hope. The other place where we need to go, one of the things we've done in terms of building capacity is now the state of Maryland recognizes us as a solid organization here in the state. And so we're part of the Maryland Charity Campaign. And so the Maryland Charity Campaign means any state employee and any retired state employee can give to our organization during a certain time of the year. And that time is from October 7th through December 13th of this year. So they can and they give through their checks.
Right.
So they can give like continual donations or they can give a one-time donation. But the point is that they can give to our nonprofit and our public charity. And we're both, according to the IRS. So building that capacity has been more important than, let's say being at, the farmer's market.
Right.
The fact that people can look at us, the Maryland is mcc.maryland.gov, by the way, for those out there that state employees and state retired employees.
That's right. Promote it.
Absolutely. So, but that right there is another thing that, and they can find our organization and go, hey, I want to give to this nonprofit. Or if they see another nonprofit they want to give to, they can give to that. So building that, right, spending time with so that has to do well by the end of the year. We have to have, we have an auction coming up December 3rd. That has to, go well. It has to be better than the last auction that we had. We have to have more of an expanse. We have to have more volunteers than we currently have. Right. So there's a lot of things, imperatives, right? Things that we have to do in order to build the capacity. Our executive director is doing another campaign, an email campaign, where he's trying to, raise fundraising. He's trying to do fundraising for our organization in a different way through Facebook and through email. That has to go well. And so there's a lot of things that we're doing that have to go well. And so that's where I'm seeing us by the end of the year.
Helping sustain itself.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Better.
Well, I want to end off with a light question.
Mm-hmm.
You are known as a reader. You obviously, I think the last episode we talked about, we dealt with the book club. And so you're very much so into books. So what are you reading right now?
Right now, I am getting through this book that I think is required reading for any understanding of African American history or studies in the United States of America. And it's called, or it's by a guy named Ibram X. Kendi. It's called Stamped from the Beginning, A Definitive History of Racist Ideas in the United States of America. And it really is required reading. What he does is goes back to the foundations of how did these ideas come up? How did segregationist ideas arise? How did assimilationist ideas arise? How did anti-racist ideas, how did these all kind of coexist in the same spot? How could an abolitionist be both an abolitionist and still maintain racist ideas during your work as an abolitionist? How can anti-racist ideas, counteract some of those? And even what's funny is that when I share those things, it might even feel like you may have an image in mind, but even, people with darker melanin, can maintain, assimilationist, even segregationist ideas about their own folks. And so it's a powerful book. And once again, I recommend it to anybody that's trying to understand race relations in the United States of America. It's essential reading.
It's like the human experience. I always look back at what happened in Rwanda with the Hutus and the Tutsis. Yeah. And then you look at the picture of the folks, you couldn't tell the difference between them. Yeah. But for some reason, somehow, right? And the power of voice through medium, right? Through someone saying you as an other are not right. Yeah. And you can see it today, even in our politics. Oh, yeah. 100%. You can see certain people that'll say, hey, I am all for loving my neighbor, but those immigrants, they can't come in here. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Whether they be in a situation of poverty or they're in a situation dealing with someone actually coming after their children or coming after them, dealing with gangs in Venezuela, or whatever the case may be, right? And they're looking for asylum. And you go, not asylum here. Yeah. But at the same time, they'll sit and have a conversation with you saying, oh, yeah, I want to take care of the brother next to me. Yeah. And you're like, nah, man. Yeah. It should be the same for all humans. Yeah. Good conversation, my man. Yeah, yes, good. Indeed. Thank you so much for coming here, getting us updated on where Beyond Rhetoric is over the last 2 years.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thank you so much for always going beyond the rhetoric.
I appreciate it, guys.
My man. Yeah. Yes, sir.